How you doing? I am Mr. Marlin. I'm going to do your pre-trip inspection on this truck and trailer of the whole vehicle. All right, we're going to start our in-cab inspection, okay? And the first thing you want to do, you want to have 3 points of contact. 3 points of contact is 2 hands and 1 feet, or 2 feet and 1 hand. So you want to come in here, you want to get your grip on the door, on the handle. When I come up, grab the steering wheel, sit down. Next thing you want to do, you want to adjust your seat. You want to adjust your seat and the steering wheel for you. Make sure you want to see your gauges in between here. Shut your door. You want to talk about your seat belt. Put your seat belt on. You want to make sure your seat belt, there's no tears or no frays in your seat belt. You want to make sure there's no abrasions, bubble cuts, or dry rot. Make sure it locks and unlocks for safety purposes. Make sure it's not cracked, bent, or broken. Make sure all the nuts and bolts are present and tight and it's properly mounted and secured. Next, we're going to go ahead and do a safe start. Our safe start consists of, you want to clutch it, brake, make sure it's in neutral. You want to turn it to auxiliary mode, but you don't want to start it right away. Go ahead and let the needles recycle through. Start the vehicle. To release it, you want to go ahead and release the clutch first, and then the brake second, just in case if it's in first gear, it won't jump forward and hit anybody or jump on you. So you want to make sure your foot is on the brake. So clutch, brake, neutral. That's how you do your safe start. Next, you want to go ahead and let the engine run so it can go ahead and air up your primary and secondary air tanks to 125 psi. Next, we're going to make sure our floor is free of any debris or bottles or any obstacles that roll under our pedals to keep us from operating the vehicle safely. We will make sure our boot has no tears in it, no abrasions, bubble cuts, or dry rot. Make sure all your nuts and bolts are present and tight. Make sure it's properly mounted and secured. You want to make sure your high and low side of your splitter working properly. Everything is properly mounted and secured. Next, we're going to go ahead and check our heat and defroster. We want to make sure our heat and defroster is working properly. You want to make sure it's coming up in the vents on the windshield, and you want to make sure it's coming on the floor. Also, you want to make sure all the nuts and bolts are present and tight. Nothing is cracked, bent, or broken, and properly mounted and secured on your climate control unit. Here is your parking brake and your trailer air supply braking knobs. You want to make sure it's not cracked, bent, or broken in any way. Make sure they're properly mounted and secured. Next, we're going to go ahead to our glass. We have our left side and our right side windshield. Also, we have our left side and driver's side door windows. You want to make sure they let up and down for safety purposes. You make sure all your glass is clean and clear, free of any debris. Make sure nothing is cracked, bent, or broken. Everything is properly mounted and secured. You also want to look in your windshield, make sure you don't have any illegal stickers. Make sure your registration is up to date. Next, we want to make sure our mirrors. We have our convex mirrors and also your fender mirrors on the hood and on the side of your vehicle, on your driver doors and your passenger door. You want to make sure nothing is cracked, bent, or broken, properly mounted and secured. You want to make sure all your nuts and bolts are present and tight. You will also want to make sure you don't have any illegal stickers on your mirrors. And sometimes you can have illegal stickers on your mirrors from a truck being towed or anything like that. Now you want to make sure your windshield wipers are working. They're both, you have 2 of them on your driver's side and the passenger side. Make sure they flush to the windshield. Make sure all your nuts and bolts are present and tight. Make sure nothing is cracked, bent, or broken. And on the weather stripping, make sure it has no abrasions, bubble cuts, and dry rot on your weather stripping. Now we're going to go ahead and check our fluid in our windshield wiper reservoir. Here you just go ahead and press this in, and you should see the fluid come out on the windshield. Make sure it's working properly. And it is. Next, you want to make sure on your steering wheel do not have no more than 2 inches of play in your steering wheel. Make sure it's properly mounted and secured. Make sure your city horn is working and your air horn is working, or highway horn. Next, we're going to go ahead and check our light indicators on our dash. We want to make sure our left turn signal is working, and our right turn signal is working. Want to check our high beam indicator, making sure it's working properly. All right, next we're going to check our four-way flashers. Want to make sure it's working properly. All right, now we're going to check our gauges on our instrument cluster. Here we have our oil. We want to make sure it's at its proper level, and it is. Here we have our water or coolant. It's at its proper level. Here will be the voltage meter, but on this one it's digital. So you press this button, keep pressing it until you get to your voltage meter, and it's at 13.9 volts. And that's good. Here, this is our RPMs or tachometer. We want to make sure it's working by mashing the gas pedal. You want to tap the gas pedal? It's working properly. Our speedometer or miles per hour, we'll check that when we do our service brake test. Here we have our primary and secondary air tanks. They're 125 PSI. They're at their proper level. You check that by stabbing the brakes and you see the needles move. Here we have our fuel level. We have enough fuel to operate the vehicle safely. And this right here is our depth. We have enough depth to operate the vehicle safely as well. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about our emergency equipment. We have our fuse box that's behind the glove box. You want to make sure it's properly mounted and secured with all your nuts and bolts are present and tight. We have our spare fuses right here up top. And to the left side of me, we're going to have our fire extinguisher to the left side of me. Make sure it's properly mounted and secured with all nuts and bolts are present and tight. Nothing is cracked, nothing broken. And make sure it's full to its capacity. In the very back, under the bed bump or in the side box, we have our 3 emergency reflective triangles. We want to make sure they're properly mounted and secured, make sure nothing is cracked, nothing broken, and all 3 of them are present. And that would include our in-cab inspection. All right, now remember on the in-cab inspection, I talked about the fire extinguisher and I talked about the 3 emergency reflective triangles. So let me show you where those items are located. Open up your driver door. Here's your fire extinguisher. All right, you want to make sure it's properly mounted and secured. This is your latch to make sure it's properly mounted and secured. Make sure all your nuts and bolts are present and tight, holding it down. And you want to make sure it's full to its capacity. All right. If it's not full, if it's anywhere in the red or empty, it's no good. You need to replace your fire extinguisher. So this is your fire extinguisher. It's on your driver's side of the vehicle to the left side of you. All right. Here we're gonna show you where the emergency reflective triangles are. All right. So you come across here. You want to hit this baggage area. You want to pull that. This is your baggage area, and it pops out on the side. So come across here to the side. Open up your side compartment. And there you find your 3 emergency reflective triangles, okay? You want to open them up, and when you want to look through them, you want to make sure all of them are present. Make sure nothing is cracked or broken or damaged in any way. And you make sure you have all 3 of them. If you don't have all 3 of them, or if they broke or any way, then they're not good. So, put them back there. They're properly mounted and secured. And those are where you'll find your emergency equipment.